Going to talk more about Labour leader Keir Starmer. He's been on stage, still is on stage. Trust me, we're not playing it live, so just as a benefit to you. He's outlining 6 pledges to voters today as part of Labour's campaign for the general election. He's announced a new pledge card. So it's not a pledge card, it's a card with pledges on it. Apparently there's a difference between those things, but it does, of course, echo Tony Blair's famous pledge card from 1997. However, it doesn't really offer much specifics when it comes to new policies. We'll talk about that. I'd love to get your thoughts on that as well. Plus, Slovakia's Prime Minister, Robert Fico, remains critically ill in hospital after being shot several times in an attempted assassination yesterday. The 71-year-old shooter is in custody, and it is believed that he was politically motivated. And the COVID inquiry is on track to be the most expensive in history, costing the taxpayer at least £300,000 a day over the last year. Sue Gray, the Partygate investigator, now Keir Starmer's chief of staff, is giving evidence to the inquiry right now. We'll get the latest on all of that a little bit later in the show. This is Talk. Welcome to the home of common sense. Thank you very much indeed for your company. Great to have you join me. And of course, still joined by Philip Ingram, former senior military intelligence officer. Good morning once again to you.
Good morning again.
Yeah, we're going to get the latest on what Sue Gray has been saying. We're going to be talking to Professor Carl Sikora about what she's had to say, but we know already that she has talked about basic devolved powers and the like. I'm not quite sure why that would have improved things. Devolved powers having more help, more say over what happens in Westminster. No, sorry, I don't think that, as someone who lives in England, that's not going to fly for me, but we'll talk about that in more detail. But the question we're asking everyone today is about the Labour leader Keir Starmer. He's launching a pledge card today, making 6 promises to voters. I want to know what pledges would win your votes and why, and what do you make of the pledges that he has offered? Is there enough detail for you? Does it echo Tony Blair's pledges back in 1995 on his pledge card, 1997, sorry, or is it really 2015 all over again and Ed Miliband's Ed Stone? Give us a call, 0344 499 1000. You can send a WhatsApp to the same number, text on 87222. You can tweet us on X at TalkTV. Calls are charged at the national rate and text costs 1 standard network rate message. Philip Ingram, let's go through these messages again, because what's fascinating about this pledge card that's not a pledge card, it's a card for pledges on. I don't know why that tickles me, but maybe it's just me, it tickles me. The card is, a good third of the card is just Keir Starmer. Big picture of him, tie, but shirt sleeves rolled up, because apparently that's when we know politicians mean business. I have to say, he's put a bit of timber on the older rubber chicken circuit since this photo was taken, haven't you, old Keir? But my first steps for change. No, my, not Labour's, not our, my. Very presidential. Deliver economic stability is number 1. Cut NHS waiting times. Launch a new border security command. Set up Great British Energy. Crack down on antisocial behaviour. Recruit 6,500 new teachers. Now, I've got to be honest with you, there's only one there that's specific, the teacher one. And we know they've sort of accounted for the cost of that. But actually, a lot of these are very vague and also pretty low ambition. 40 years of Tory failure and instability, etc., they'll claim. Deliver economic stability. Is that it? Economic growth would be nice.
We don't know what it means. Maybe we should rename them ourselves and call them Starmer's statements in stone.
I like that.
But there's no substance in them, and that's the real difficulty. It's the how. And again, we're hearing it's taxing private schools. It's cutting down on the it's cutting down on the non-dom.
The non-dom thing. I'm in favour of that.
Well, yeah, that's
I don't think people who live here long term should be able to not pay full taxes.
Neither of those are going to create more people who want to be teachers. It's not going to create more people who want to be nurses and doctors and all the rest of it. If you want to create more doctors and nurses, a simple thing like saying we will cut tuition fees for doctors and nurses if they work in the NHS for 10 years, 10 years after they've qualified. Bang! That would be a brilliant statement, and everyone would sign up to that. Yeah. But why is that sort of thing not in there?
Yeah, this is about specifics. Cut NHS waiting times by how many, by how quickly, and things like that. I just think it's quite sort of low rent, but there's all the key things that are missing. We were discussing earlier. Housing, no part. Even in Rishi Sunak's first 5 pledges, housing not mentioned. Housing is such a crucial part of why our economy is so wrong. For a start, a load of jobs if you build new houses. I don't mean social housing. We're spending 30 billion a year on housing benefit to put people in private accommodation, which is pretty low value, not very nice accommodation. When people would, and they've got no security, when people would like to be in their own home, people look after their homes when they own them. They look after their streets. They get a stake in the community. Their children have more stability in terms of which school they can go to, them because mum and dad have to move because the rent goes up. It's absolutely vital for if you don't have affordable homes, and we spend far more of our incomes in this country on our housing than in most other countries. People are spending up to half of their income, their take-home income, on their rent or their mortgage. That is insane. That's other things they can't spend it on. But also, I know so many people, this is really common now, people don't start families. Because they can't afford to start a family, because they can't afford a home. People don't have as many kids as they'd like. I know loads of people who've stuck at one because they simply cannot afford to have another bedroom ever, or even if they live in a flat, they've got a 2-bedroom flat, and they'll go, yeah, but we can't. The second bedroom for the kid is not big enough for 2 kids. I mean, people can't afford to have kids. We need people to be able to have kids. We don't need to import people to improve the demographics of our country, as we have an ageing population. We just need to enable all the people who want to have children to be able to afford to have children. This is so crucial. We've imported 10 million new people to the country through immigration, and we've not provided enough housing. It's insane.
Yeah, and housing, there's no mention of care.
Social care.
The social care, the problems that there are with that. There's no mention of defence. There's no mention of justice.
The Labour advisor we just had in, James Matthewson, pointed out, this isn't the manifesto, this is just 5 key pledges. But I'm just not sure set up Great British Energy is going to be the game changer they think it is.
Yeah, but if anything, by putting it out as 5 pledges, he's diluting the overall message. Six pledges.
That makes a complete difference.
Conservatives are 5. Sorry, Labour are 6. I get it wrong.
What it is, he had his 5, and he basically has added in this border security command.
Yeah. But what that's doing is diluting the overall messages that have been put out beforehand, because people are just going to focus on these.
And when you go back to Tony Blair, 97, it was so specific, a lot of it. It was no rise in income tax rates, cuts VAT on heating to 5%, cut class sizes to 30 or under for 5, 6 and 7 year olds. That was the number one. That was such a big issue. Remember, education. Cut NHS waiting lists by treating an extra 100,000 patients, get 250,000 under 25-year-olds off benefit into work. Very specific. Actually, they weren't that ambitious, but very specific pledges. And that's what people want to hear, because you can judge a specific pledge, can't you? Whether it's achieved or not.
Well, exactly. And in military terms, you have what you're going to do and why you're going to do it. So if we look at the Create Great British Energy, if it said Create Great British Energy in order to reduce energy bills by an average of 30%, that means something to people. And you suddenly go, oh, I get that now. I can put it into context.
Yeah, but exactly. I don't care about the energy company. What I care about is the bills and whether or not I can afford to put the heating or the lights on.
And I've read the article in the Daily Mirror. The in order to is not in the article.
No, exactly. Now, remind us what your pledges were that you've tweeted out today.
Oh, my pledges are fantastic.
These are so much better.
I'm going to win the lottery 3 times in a row. I'm going to deliver world peace. I'm going to buy a big yacht. I'm going to eradicate all cancer. That's a personal one. Yep. Lock up litter lights, because I just don't like them around the place, and have a private space station. I mean,
what I love is half of those are really about looking after the world.
Yes.
And the other half are just things you'd like.
Yes, exactly.
Things you like.
Self-indulgence.